Get ready for the action, because a relatively weak earthquake rattled North Carolina today between Greensboro and Charlotte. This magnitude 2 event struck at 8:45 p.m. from a depth of 9.2 kilometers near Randleman. And while there were no reports of damage or injuries, this tremor reminds us that seismic activity is always a possibility in our region. We dive into the details of this minor tremor right now.
Stop using your finger for notes, sketches, and edits. This Jam Jake stylus pen gives your iPad a smoother, more precise writing feel with palm rejection so your hand can rest naturally on the screen. It charges fast, works for hours, and comes with replacement tips. Perfect for school, work, or creative projects. Check the link in the comments to grab it on Amazon.
Shifting gears to the environment, homeowners and gardeners across Wake County are scrambling to adjust their routines as worsening drought conditions force new water conservation restrictions into effect starting Monday. With Falls Lake dropping over 2.5 feet, the pressure is on for everyone managing their outdoor spaces, and we explore exactly how residents and professionals are changing their watering habits to survive this dry spell. Now, let's talk about property values in Buncombe County, where thousands of property owners have filed appeals following a sharp surge in assessments. County Tax Assessor Eric Kreger explains how the housing boom from 2021 is impacting current valuations and what homeowners need to know about the appeal process to protect their property taxes. Finally, we turn to a major future concern: the massive water demands of data centers amid the ongoing drought. As Raleigh implements water restrictions, we examine the staggering potential water use of a single data center and why local officials, like those in Chatham County, are considering moratoriums on new projects to manage this escalating strain on North Carolina's water supply. Stay with us for the full story. A relatively weak earthquake rattled central North Carolina today, occurring between Greensboro and Charlotte. According to the United States Geological Survey, the 8:45 p.m. tremor struck from a depth of 9.2 kilometers near Randleman and was officially rated as a magnitude 2 event. Authorities reported no damage or injuries resulting from the quake. This incident is geographically significant, as it occurred near the location of a pair of earthquakes recorded on April 5th. Geological experts note that earthquakes with a magnitude of 2 or less are often barely felt or heard by the public. While events exceeding magnitude 2 can be felt more readily, significant structural damage typically requires a magnitude of 3 or higher, with major casualties usually associated with events reaching a magnitude of 5.5 or greater. Earthquakes are not frequent occurrences in North Carolina, though they do happen. While the state is not known for intense seismic activity, occasional tremors are recorded. Some minor earthquakes in the region are linked to old fault lines along the Appalachian Mountains, even though the Western Mountains are not situated on an active tectonic plate boundary. The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality emphasizes that large, damaging seismic events are rare within the state. Most significant earthquakes felt in North Carolina originate from external seismic zones, including the East Tennessee Zone to the west, the Charleston, South Carolina Zone to the south, or the Central Virginia Zone to the north. Historically, the strongest quakes recorded in the state have been concentrated in the western regions along the Appalachian Mountains. Homeowners and gardeners across Wake County, North Carolina, are implementing significant changes to their watering practices in response to worsening drought conditions and new water conservation restrictions taking effect Monday. These limits impact over 600,000 residents and specifically target outdoor irrigation as spring planting season begins. The situation is underscored by a significant drop of more than 2.5 feet in the Falls Lake, prompting officials to tighten water usage controls just as residents increase their outdoor gardening activities. Many residents are expressing concern over the lack of rainfall in April, which has raised anxieties about early season plant growth. Chuck Doppler, a Raleigh homeowner, shared the sentiment, stating, "Hope and we're praying for rain." At the J.C. Ralston Arboretum at North Carolina State University, staff are taking stricter measures to protect both new and mature plantings. Greg Page, the Arboretum's horticulture director, noted the heightened nervousness regarding legacy plants, such as mature oaks, which have experienced health issues due to the drought. The Arboretum is adjusting irrigation schedules to minimize evaporation and implementing cultural practices for plants. Experts are advising homeowners to adopt professional conservation strategies. Page specifically cautioned against practices that increase water demand, such as fertilizing during droughts, and suggested postponing seasonal planting until the fall. He recommended focusing on methods like mulching and hand watering, emphasizing the need for close monitoring of new plants to ensure they receive adequate, but not excessive, water. Other expert recommendations include frequent weeding to reduce water competition and allowing grass to go dormant during dry periods. Water officials have confirmed that these outdoor-focused restrictions will remain in effect until drought conditions improve. Buncombe County, North Carolina, is grappling with a surge of property tax appeals following a significant increase in property valuations, which county leaders attribute to the rapid real estate market recovery post-2021. Over 11,000 property owners have filed appeals against their new assessments, reacting to what county officials describe as the largest property value increase in over a decade. Tax assessor Eric Kreger explained that the valuation spike reflects the gap between the county's last reappraisal in 2021 and the current housing market conditions. The latest assessment incorporates real estate activity from 2021 through 2025, a period marked by the pandemic housing boom that drove price surges across western North Carolina and beyond. Kreger addressed a common misconception among property owners, that a percentage increase in property value directly translates to the same percentage increase in the tax bill. He clarified that North Carolina law requires counties to assess property at market value as of the reappraisal date. While the volume of appeals is substantial, Kreger noted that it is not unusual, estimating the current number represents less than 10% of the county's properties. County officials anticipate increased appeals due to the statewide nature of the valuation changes. Currently, county officials are handling informal appeals, allowing property owners to discuss concerns directly with the assessor's office. Formal appeals, which proceed to the Board of Equalization and Review, can be filed by May 5th, with hearing timelines to be announced at a subsequent board meeting. To manage the process efficiently, Buncombe County utilizes a system that groups similar properties based on location, size, and condition, rather than comparing individual homes directly. Officials are actively engaging with residents through community events and appeal clinics, aiming to clarify the process and ensure property values are accurately determined. Raleigh is preparing to implement Stage 1 water use restrictions on Monday amid a persistent drought across North Carolina, signaling growing concerns over the water demands of large data centers. The precautionary measure aims to limit irrigation and enforce conservation measures as water levels remain critically low. Raleigh Water Assistant Director Ed Butchin noted that the decision highlights how quickly water supply can be strained. Industry estimates reveal significant water consumption by data centers. A single large facility can use up to 1 billion gallons annually, or as much as 2.7 million gallons per day during peak summer heat, comparable to the daily use of entire towns. A critical issue highlighted by officials is that much of this water, used for cooling, is lost through evaporation rather than being returned to the river basin, disrupting traditional water cycles. Butchin stated that data centers were not factored into previous water planning, noting that this loss combined with rapid growth is forcing utilities to rethink long-term allocation strategies. The question now centers on whether data center water use should be counted for growth or if it represents a separate demand. Severe drought now grips all of North Carolina, with projections indicating conditions will persist through at least the end of July. Falls Lake, a key drinking water source in Raleigh, is below normal levels for this time of year. These environmental pressures are already influencing development policy. In Chatham County, commissioners approved a 1-year moratorium on new data centers, citing water use as the paramount concern for the state's climate future. Experts warn that the pace of development in rural areas often outstrips the capacity for engineering studies, leaving local systems ill-equipped to manage impacts. Nationally, lawmakers are beginning to address data center water use through proposed legislation in 36 states aimed at increasing transparency. However, North Carolina currently lacks statewide mandates requiring data centers to disclose water use or set drought-related limits, leaving decision-making largely to local agreements. Developers maintain that early projections are conservative, suggesting average daily use might be only 30–45% of peak demand, with final usage depending on design. Utilities currently report stable near-term water system performance, but officials stress that converging pressures from population growth, industrial demand, and climate change necessitate a fundamental shift toward more critical long-term planning for water management.